Today we're going to make a spring flower wreath. I know it's quite late spring now, but you know, never too late for a wreath. And it's going to brighten up hopefully your doorway like mine. Or you can put it anywhere in the house, but mine's above the doorway because there's a window above the door. It's quite nice to show it, have it on display to, you know, people passing by if you live on a street, that kind of thing. So yeah, so what you're going to need is 2 plates. Don't worry, they will not be broken with any luck. A dinner plate and a side plate, one bigger and one smaller. Basically, they can be paper plates, but yeah, these are just sturdy. We're just going to draw around them. Scissors, tape, a pencil, and maybe a felt tip. Coloured card, if you have it, and some scrap papers, packaging, coloured packaging, and egg boxes can also be good for making flower shapes if you want to make something more 3D. There's going to be a couple of options. Basically, the stuff you collect is going to be the part that lets you get kind of creative. You can gather together the things that you have at home, or maybe some coloured card, and put together the flowers or design that you want. Okay, so let's start. Okay, now we've got the wreath base, which can be painted green, or you can just leave it unpainted. It's up to you. I've just let this dry for about 20 minutes because acrylic does dry quite quickly. And now basically it's a case of making your flowers, which is the creative part. Hopefully it's the fun part. So I've got my little drawing that I made originally just to give a guide about where, you know, to where I'm going to place the flowers. And some of them are cut from kind of different packaging. Some are cut from different coloured card, and some I've made from egg boxes. So it's up to you how you'd like to make them. This one, the egg boxes are obviously quite 3D, so you just have to think about maybe where it's going to be hung and how it's going to be hung, because obviously it can't get very flat against a window if it's 3D, but if it's on an inside door or somewhere inside, that's going to be a bit easier if it's not up against a window. Otherwise, if it's up against a window, you might want something a bit more flat. So yeah, so what I've done with these flowers is cut it from, I'll just show you this part of the egg box here, and that little cup shape, it lends itself really nicely to the flower. So this one's a daisy. I just cut around and then snipped for the petals, painted it white with a yellow centre. That's a daisy. This one I kept a bit more of the edges and just went up and down, and that's almost just following the pattern of the mould of the egg box. They can be tulips. And I'm just painting a daffodil, what is going to be a daffodil. So I've got some water here in a jar, and I'm just going to use a paintbrush and my paint palette, which is very messy, but hopefully it's going to be usable. And I like to mix a bit of white with all of the colours, because the white just helps the paint to be a bit more sit on the that greyness of the egg box a bit better, and just it just looks brighter. I think just blocks out a bit of the greyness. So I'm going to do this and then make a centre. So I'll just quickly go around the petals. You can take a bit longer. Then I'd leave them all to dry for about probably only 10 to 15 minutes, because like I say, acrylic does dry quite quickly. And then for the centre of the daffodil, I'm just going to need to get some red paint, which I will put on the red part of my palette. If you don't have anything to use as a palette, you can just use a bit of this kind of glossy card, because the paint won't absorb into that. So if you don't have anything else, you can use a bit of kind of cereal packet cardboard. That will work just as well. So to make the little centre, this is going to be the centre of the daffodil. Just going to mix an orange with some yellow and red paint. Dum, dum, dum. And then paint it. Maybe add a bit of white again. And sooner or later, your paint palette gets quite messy. And you might need to wash it off at some point, which I clearly have not done. But just to make it easier for you, it might be easier to wash it. I'm just painting all, sorry, you can't see all the inside. Okay, so there's I'm going to leave that to dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to start putting together the wreath.